There we
There we
go.
go.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight or this afternoon, depending on your time zone. But my name is Ezra, and I am with the Career and Professional Development team here at WGU. And I'm excited for this week, for today's session. It is WGU Internship Week. It is a week that is really for our students, for you guys to explore internship opportunities, hear directly from employers, like you will today, gain insights so that you can kind of navigate that search process with confidence. I am excited to have Kristen here from National Heritage Academies with us today. She's going to talk about professionalism and personal branding in a moment. But before we dive in, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. Please stay muted throughout the session just so we can keep the audio clear for everyone. Feel free to use the chat. The chat will stay open. If a question comes to mind, I think Kristen's got some engagement, some questions. Feel free to drop it in there. I'll be monitoring that, and then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end as well. And then, as you've noticed, the session is recorded, so we'll send out the recording afterwards if you want to rewatch any part of it, so that you will receive that most likely tomorrow by the time all is said and done. All right, I think those were all of my little things. Kristen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Ezra. Well, guys, I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, so it's good evening from me. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I know everybody has valuable, precious time, so I hope to make the most of this hour for you and myself. Huge thank you, Ezra, for inviting me to do this. I'm really, really excited. I'm very passionate about personal brand and professionalism. At National Heritage Academies, I manage our intern program, among a few other things, but interns are very much my passion. Before everybody jumped on, we were kind of saying, I think that interns breathe new life into organization. You remind everybody that it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to learn and grow. And we've all been there. We've all been a young professional first time in the workplace. So hopefully today I can offer you guys a few tips and tricks that will make your experience the best it can be, because there are some things I wish somebody had told me. And so that is part of the reason I'm so passionate about this. But before I jump into the slides, I really want to start with this really funny story. So I've been at National Heritage Academies, it'll be 3 years in November. And it was Friday of my first week. I'm going to set the stage here. It's November, right before Thanksgiving. I'm 7.5 months pregnant. I am like, yes, I made it through the first week. I put my stuff at my desk, and we have like a community coffee kitchen area. And I go to get some coffee, and there's somebody kind of across from me and then somebody in front of me. And the person finishes that's at the coffee machine, and the gentleman across from me kind of walks really quickly in front of me to get to the machine. And I think he realizes that it kind of looked aggressive. So he turns around and goes, "I'm so sorry." And of course I'm thinking, I'm in no rush to go sit back down at my desk. It's no problem at all. And then as the coffee's brewing, instead of that awkward standing behind each other thing, he turns around and says, "I don't think I've met you yet. My name is Jason." I shake his hand and I say, "Hi, my name is Kristen." And he goes, "What do you do?" And I say, "I was just hired on the school talent acquisition team." And I go to him, "What do you do?" And he says, "I'm the CEO." And I could have died. I could have died on the spot. I'm mortified. I said to him, "I'm so sorry. It's my first week. I see you guys laughing. Thank you for, because otherwise I'm just in my head going like, is this funny? Because it should be funny. Because I'm laughing about it now. I slunk back to my desk, just wanting to fall into the deepest, darkest hole that I could find. And now all these years later, he remembers this story and tells it to people with a positive feeling, which is great. I went, another 6 or 7 months without talking to him. And that first summer that I ran our internship program, we do a CEO and president meet and greet. And he came into the room, and I went up to him and, "Hi, I'm Kristen." I shook his hand. He goes, "Oh, I know who you are." And I'm like, "Oh God." Like, just could have died. My point in sharing that story is hopefully now I have all of your attention, but also there's a lesson here. First of all, it's okay to laugh at yourself because we all make mistakes no matter whether you've been in the professional world 5 minutes or 50 years. And that you should always be professional. You should always, you never know who you're talking to. I feel like there was a show some time ago, The Secret Undercover Boss. And our CEO is, I was just telling Azra this, is quite quiet. So he really doesn't like to be the forefront of attention. And again, you just never know who you're going to get stuck in an elevator with, standing at the coffee machine, in the bathroom, I've run into people before. You just never know. So to have a sense of professionalism at all times is really, really important. So hopefully you learn from my error. And then the next week we had orientation, and they showed all the pictures of the executives, and I'm like, well, this would have been nice to have a week ago because I would have recognized him. He's a very recognizable person. So moving on, like Ezra said, my name is Kristen Ryskamp. I am an employee experience specialist at National Heritage Academies. If you're not familiar, National Heritage Academies is a charter school management company. We manage, starting this fall, it'll be 105 schools across 9 states. It is a really wonderful job. Our mission is to just help kiddos. And we just celebrated our 31st anniversary as a company. So we've been doing this quite some time. And it is, for me, just a big passion because as a mom myself, for those of you who don't know, I have a 2-year-old, and becoming a mom and working now in a company where I get to directly impact the lives of children is a real big for my heart. So we can go to the next slide, my dear. So the first thing I want to go before we get into the actual meat of this presentation, I just want to tell you guys what to expect. So we're going to start with personal brand. What does that mean? What is it? Then we're going to jump into that professional setting. You've walked into one. Now what do I do? And then I'm going to teach you about 3 etiquettes that I think you should never, never skip, that are really important. I'm not going to say that they're the only things, but 3 that I think are really important. And then who you are and how you behave matters. What is an internship even for? And then final tips and takeaways. I hope to talk 6:30, 6:40, and I'm going to leave like a long time for questions. So please ask. I have more things I can say, but I'd love to hear from you guys and not just hear myself talk for an hour because my voice is just not all that great. Okay, we can keep going. So this is where I'd love you guys to jump in the chat and maybe say 2 to 3 words. That first thing that comes to mind that you think describes you. I'm going to do it too. I'll give you guys a couple minutes. Ooh, transparent. That's a good one. Passionate, spontaneous. I'm not spontaneous, Danielle. Nobody's ever called me that ever. Attentive, pathetic. These are great. I'll give you guys another minute or so. Determined and efficient. Oh, that's good. This is so fun. I love this. Funny. Somebody needs to be funny. We always need the jokester in the room. I have a girl on my team that she is like the most sarcastic thing, but in the best way possible. Straightforward. Uno champion. I'm dead. Organized, quick learner. Yep, those are really important, guys. Hardworking and enthusiastic. Oh, this is so good. All right, I guess I've got another 20 seconds. We'll let a couple more of you. Don't be shy. There's no wrong answer here. This is how you see yourself. All right, Ezra, if you want to go to the next slide for me. Hard worker. Great. Okay, so believe it or not, you, I don't know if you realized it, you just shared what you see as your personal brand. And it's not to say that those couple words that you shared are the only things that are good about you, but I always like to think if you're asked on the spot, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Those are usually, at least in my experience, very true things, very real things that you feel about yourself. And this should be what you're thinking about yourself, and hopefully people who know you, they would agree with these things. They might use slightly different words, but they would agree with the general, umbrella experience. Um, so do you guys think that this is what other people think of you? Would they agree with the words that you've chosen to describe you? Um, that's really important here in personal brand, because first impressions can be really, really, really hard to change. But you can control your personal brand, and that is something I think that can develop as you develop as a person and in an organization. And it goes to say that actions usually speak louder than words. I know that's a cliche thing to say, and you've probably heard of the really famous Maya Angelou quote that says, along the lines of, people may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And I know we're talking about a work setting professional, but feeling is still a part of that, and it still goes a really long way. That's what I would call personal brand. Oh, thank you. I'm loving this chat. Thank you guys. So the work you do and how people feel about that work is your personal brand. You want to ensure that what you think about yourself and how others see you aligns. And how do you want to be known? There's no wrong answers. I'd be willing to bet that most of you would like to be known as hardworking, high quality effort, kind, things like that. But what else is there? And are you, the things that you're doing today, lining up with the things that you say you are and that you want to be? This is something we talk about a lot in my organization. Employee experience team, my manager is real passionate about this stuff. So it's helped me get real about identifying who I am, and it does what I say and what I do match up with that. And yeah, I think I'm pretty friendly. I think most people would say that. I think I'm pretty engaging. Most people would say that. But what would they say about my work? I'd like to hope they'd say it's great, but you have to keep doing things and keep asking questions to really build out that brand. And again, it can change as you grow and develop. I used to be, just when I started out in the professional world, oh dear goodness, I was a nervous Nelly, and I was very emotionally driven. I wore my heart on my sleeve, and if somebody said something to me that upset me, you could tell immediately. So I've really grown as I've matured in myself and in my life, to not let every emotion that I have cross over my face and be in my body language, because sometimes there are things that aren't appropriate for the workplace. And I'm sure that you guys are learning that and will continue to learn that. So please, again, ask questions if you have them. Otherwise, I'm going to keep us moving along here. So, okay, here we go. I was like, are the words not going to come up? So this is your first time in an office. I'm not sure how many of you have ever been in an office setting. I don't know how old everybody is. But I remember my first time in an office, and it was about, I want to say like 7, 8 months after I graduated college. And it was really intimidating. I walked in actually to have my first interview. I had never stepped foot in a traditional office before in my life. My internships were not in office settings, and it was really intimidating. Was I dressed okay? Was I holding myself the right way? Should I have had my computer or my purse or my bag? I didn't know. And going from school in that learning environment where you're in school 12 plus years for most of us on this call, it's a major transition. So I want to talk about a few key things that should help make you successful, not just in the early days, but in general. Firm handshake. This is, again, just should go without saying, but I feel like handshakes are lost. I know that for a while we were in that COVID and it was like, do I, don't I? But if you're in a position where somebody goes to shake your hand, you have to shake it with confidence. And I don't mean death grip them until their fingers are turning purple. It is not a contest to see who can shake harder. But also I find, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say this as a woman, I find us ladies like to be a little bit more demure, and we almost give just like not a full hand sometimes. That doesn't come across great either. So you want to just a basic handshake, really grip that hand, but not hard, but grip it with confidence, because you're just introducing yourself. You're not selling anybody on anything. You're not trying to convince anybody of anything. You're just saying hello. It's just that traditional greeting, but it shows that you are meant to be where you are. You should think that you're meant to be there because you wouldn't be there if you weren't meant to be there. Eye contact. Again, should go without saying, but you'd be surprised how many interns I have even today that don't want to meet my eye, and I'm kind of looking around trying to get them to give me eye contact. People struggle, and if you don't give direct eye contact, I feel like it makes people really, really uncomfortable. Sorry, I'm just reading this chat. Yes, couldn't agree more with you, Kay. That is absolutely. I can remember a lot of people based on that first handshake, that first eye contact interaction. That's a really great point. Your grandpa is a wise, wise man, as grandpas most certainly often are. Show respect. I'm seeing this a lot with the intern group that I have this year. They don't realize they're the new kids on the block. And I don't mean to say kids is kind of a pun. Yes, you're young, but I don't mean you as kids, but you're the new people on the block. Be open to learning. Be open to hearing everyone's voice before you have your own voice be heard. And it's not to say that you don't have great ideas and you don't have great things to offer, because you absolutely do. And at least at my organization, we firmly believe that people that are new, whether they be interns or employees, can often come in with a fresh perspective, that because we're so in the mud every single day, that we don't see that. So I think it's great to share your opinion, but make sure you've heard everybody else first, because there is a point where you are the new one and you kind of want to you want to be in a place where people know that you're new and you can still have an opinion, but you're kind of like, I'm going to sit back and just hear what everybody else has to say. And there's nothing wrong with that. We've all been new at one point or another. Um, it's okay to be nervous. I feel like we also think we have to hide that. It's okay to be nervous. Being nervous. I just told Azra today I was nervous before this started. I honestly was like, okay, I'm sweating. I'm a little anxious. But being nervous shows that you care. If you're not nervous, if you're so confident, I got this, I don't need any assistance, don't give me any tips, it just doesn't come across really well. So it's okay to be nervous. Okay, I'm just reading a question. Seems to be a big issue in the workplace, boundaries. How do you manage that? It seems coworkers cross the line often. That's a great question. It is super, super, super true. I think you can only control thyself. And it's really, oh, thank you. Thank you, these compliments. You can only control yourself and you can only control your actions. And this is a lesson that I feel like I'm continuing to learn, because I expect everybody's going to behave the way I behave. If somebody truly crosses a line and it makes you uncomfortable, you need to notify your manager, HR, however your business is structured. But sometimes I just have to keep my mouth shut and say, that's just not how I would have handled it. That's not what I would have said, and move on. And I feel like that sounds really harsh, and I'm not trying to sound harsh, but in this world, unfortunately, we can only control how we act and how we behave and how we present ourselves. And at the end of the day, know that unfortunately, people care mostly about themselves, and you have to be the one that looks out for you. And that's been a lesson I've had to learn a few times the hard way. Unfortunately, work is not a great place to trust a lot of people, because at the end of the day, it's work. You don't want to go to your coworker, oh, our boss did this, and then. If you have a problem with somebody, you need to go to them directly. I hope I'm answering that question. If I'm not, please say something. So I will keep going. So confidence. And we just talked about being nervous, but you also have to be confident. I know, like, I'm kind of, being a little bit like this way, black and white, but you do have to also show some confidence, because again, you were asked to be there for a reason. So if you aren't feeling confident, fake it till you make it. Like, I do that all the time. I'm really actually not that confident of a person, not when it comes to myself, but I put it on really well. Nobody's going to ever know that about me unless I want them to. And if that means you have to give compliments or you have to ask a lot of questions, whatever that looks like to you, be that person. And it's okay to have, some level of confidence and some level of nervousness. We don't want to be too far one way and too far the other way. Like I'm saying on that slide, there's a really fine balance between being overly confident and too humble. Um, when you do something and someone thanks you, take it, own it, be like, yeah, thank you so much. Don't try to be like, oh no, 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 no. Like, you don't want to be too humble. If somebody's looking at you, whether it's a manager or a coworker or whomever, take that and own it. They're taking the time out of your day to thank you. You take the time to say, yeah, you're welcome. I was really happy to be part of that, whatever that looks like for you. But it's okay to do that as well. Being humble is wonderful, but you're allowed to take credit, especially when somebody gives it to you. And have a really good attitude. Bad attitudes are absolutely toxic in the workplace. I was just talking with my chief people officer, and she was telling me a story about when she was first working at our company, and she was saying that she worked next to a gal, and she just complained about everything, whether it was the weather or the coffee machine was broken or the roads were bad, whatever it looked like. And she finally had to sit down and have a conversation with her, because she's like, I'm finding myself be negative now because of you. You want to be known for the person that always sees the glass half full, not half empty. I always have to think about that analogy before I say it. Now, again, that's not to say that you're not allowed to complain. Everybody has their moments, but especially if you're a leader, if you have a big, strong voice and you feel like people listen to you, you want to be the person that's speaking the loudest, that is saying the good things. I work, part of what I do is I onboard some of our new teachers in our North Carolina schools. And I swear, it doesn't seem like some of these people could find their way out of a paper bag. And I just sit there and I'm just like, how is this not clear? I've sent you this email like 7 times. We've been on the phone. And I kind of just make myself laugh about it, because otherwise I might cry. And you don't want to be negative. Just make a joke out of it. It's okay. You can still talk about it. So hopefully that helps you guys a little bit. The last one for me is really something personally that I've had to grow in a lot. So I'm very passionate about it, and it's feedback. That's a really hard one for a lot of people. My organization is really feedback driven. The first time I received feedback, I was probably that first job. I wasn't really in my internship. It was really that first big job, that big girl job I had out of college. And I see your question. I'm going to answer it in just a second. And the person who gave it to me didn't do the best job ever. And now, and I've now learned, having to have had given feedback to somebody, it's really, really hard. So there is an art to being able to provide feedback, but I did not help the situation because I cried and I carried on and I took it so personally, and it was terrible. And that happened a few more times before I finally figured out that most people want the best for you, and most people are only saying things that will help you. And even if they're not saying things that will help you, you have to try to take it that way. Even this presentation, I sent it to my leader at my job and asked her for her feedback. And she gave me some things, and I changed some things around. We talked through a couple of things. We moved slides. I mean, whether it's about like the way something is on a slide or the wording of something. And the minute that I started letting feedback help me is the minute that I started growing as an individual. And it's not always easy to hear, but it's not the good things that you hear, that like, oh, you're doing so great, you're so amazing at that. That's not what makes you grow. That's not what makes you develop. That's not what actually gets you to the next position. It's the things that you're not so great at, and that you say, you know what, I'm not so great at this. How can you help me get better? And again, it takes practice. It's hard. It's not, nobody wants to hear, oh, you're not doing the best job at this. Nobody wants to hear that. So that's a tough one. So if you don't do great the first time, it's okay. You'll learn, you'll get better at it. It's one of those things, it's kind of like once you learn how to ride a bike, you figure it out. And again, it doesn't mean that the people delivering it to are always going to do the best job, because sometimes they just don't. Okay, so this question, how do you get your voice heard? It seems like that's an issue happening with our quiet leaders. It's a good point. You got to find the right person to talk to. And once you're in a role, in a company, in a job, you figure out really quickly who's going to listen and who's going to not listen. My leader, for example, really, really encourages everybody to say how they're feeling, she might not necessarily use what we are saying or use our ideas or agree with us, but at least she listens to us. And I think sometimes we get that confused is just because they don't implement what we said or do the things the way we want doesn't mean our voices aren't being heard. So sometimes you just have to know that you said the words, you got your words out there, and they're going to do with what they want to do with them after that. Again, it's kind of a tough one, but don't let somebody not listening to you keep you from sharing, because eventually somebody's going to say, wow, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Or, wow, I didn't know I was making you feel that way. Thank you so much for telling me. You just might have to find the right person. And that's really, really hard. Learning. Yeah, it's really, really hard. And if you work at a company that is very friendly and familial, it makes it even harder. Those lines get really blurred really, really quickly. And there's just some things as personal that you have to check at the door and you just have to put a smile on your face. And there are some things that it's okay to share. And it's okay to say, I'm having a really hard day. I'm not the best version of myself today. But the more that you can, like Esther's saying, reframe and be as positive and neutral as you can, the better off you're going to be. You're going to spend so much time with these people and at this place, more time than you do your family. That's the hardest part for me about being a parent is I don't get out of work till 5. I come home, my son's in bed by before 8. Like it's such a quick time. You're at work for so much of your day and so much of your week. Don't you want to be happy? I mean, I do. So, food for thought for you guys. So you want to be going back to, being in the office. Oh, sorry, I seeing all these questions and I want to answer them. How do you know when to go to HR and when to take it on the chin, especially as a woman? That's a really, really, really good question. That's a really, 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 really good question. Ooh, if it feels wrong to you, then it's wrong. That's my advice. Ezra, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. Please jump in.
I think it is really hard to answer that question with like context matters a lot. Um, the other piece that I always say, at least when I'm, talking to my own friends or mentors or whatnot, context matters. Obviously, if it's violating policy, right? Sexual
Mhm.
harassment, anything where it's violating your safety, compromising your safety, definitely make sure that you are saying something. But outside of that, I would say this is where mentors are really great. This is where other colleagues that you trust are really great, where you can say, hey, this weird thing happened. What do you
Mhm.
think? And some of the time it is just, you just kind of let it go, like Kristen said, because there's not much you can do. You can't control it. You can control your reaction. Um, Sometimes you decide to fight and take it up, knowing that there might be
Mhm.
consequences. Without knowing more, I don't know that there's more that I
Yeah,
could,
I agree.
you know, say. So,
I just,
um,
you work in this field too, so I always just like to hear somebody's voice besides just my own. Um it's a really hard it's a hard balance, but if it feels wrong and it made you feel uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form, but especially if it's sexual in nature or somebody has been physically inappropriate with you, yeah, you're going to go to HR or you're going to go to your manager and at least say, this just made me feel really icky. I don't know if this person meant it this way, but this is how it made me feel. And sometimes just bouncing it off of somebody that you trust and just saying it out loud helps. Um, somebody somebody said to me the other day, I will tell you guys, I obviously, we haven't gotten to know each other that well, but I'm quite vocal and I'm quite, the way I am being now is pretty much my personality in general. And somebody said to me, she's like, she was kidding, but she wasn't kidding. She said, you are just so loud all the time. And I kind of just looked at her and I was like, yeah, yeah, yes, I am. You know what? Yes, I am. I am loud. That's my personality. That's who I am. And in my head, I was like, oh, that didn't feel really good. But you know what? That's her opinion and she's allowed to have it. I wish she hadn't said it that way, and that's not what I would have said to somebody, but that's okay. It's not it's okay. Um, Yes, Kay, that's yeah, yeah, you did the right thing there. That's terrible. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Unfortunately, these things do happen. So that's why we have HR. They're there for you guys, the employees. So I'm sorry that that happened, and I'm really glad it was taken care of. So jumping back into the first time in the office, because we've, gotten off track a little bit here, which is okay. Um, you want to be remembered a certain way, and people will remember you. And if you think that you're not that memorable, I promise you, somebody will remember you. In the 3 years I've been doing this program at National Heritage Academies, there are interns that I remember for both wonderful and not so wonderful reasons. You want people to remember your personal brand, that you were kind, friendly, a hard worker, passionate, compassionate, all the things. As I'm saying this, there's a particular intern that comes to my mind. He was an intern with us last summer. Um, I sat on the phone with him 2 different times for 25 minutes apiece trying to get him to accept this role. And I kind of thought to myself after he finally accepted this kid's going to be an interesting one for me. And he proved to be very interesting. And unfortunately, when I talk about him, yes, we're telling funny stories and we're laughing, but we're not talking about the great work he did. And he didn't really do great work, but he might have, but it got lost because we were only talking about his overconfident, inflated ego. And he walked around the office just like he owned it the whole summer. And it got worse and worse as the summer wore on. And I just remember him finally having his last day and me being like, thank goodness. He's, I just, I was like, I tried to impart something on him, and I'm not sure anything got through because he thought he knew it all already. And again, he wasn't doing particularly great work, but even if he had, we weren't talking about it. That wasn't the thing that stood out the most. The thing that stood out the most was how offensive his general personality was to pretty much everybody. And he spoke so loudly that we could all hear him no matter where we were. So, just food for thought for you guys. How do you want to be remembered? That really comes back to that personal brand and first impressions. So if you want to go to the next slide, my dear. Oh yeah, I always remember. So key etiquettes. Like I said in my opening, you guys, these are not the only 3 things. These are just 3 things that I think are really, really important and are going to be universal no matter what career path you decide to pursue. And even if it's not in an office, let's say, I don't know, you're working in the wedding industry or you're in a manufacturing plant, I still think that these matter. So I just want to share those. But before I jump in, I see another question. How do you create a healthy work environment? Because it seems like I have to stick with the status quo and walk on eggshells. When you're new, you do have to kind of take some time and figure out the lay of the land. Um, but healthy means something different to everybody. So I always say to people, if you're not happy, you got to find another place to work because there is only so much that you're going to affect change on. Sometimes things, even my manager always says to us, like, what are you unhappy with? And let's just say I say, oh, I wish I had more time off. Well, that's just not something that she can necessarily always control. Sometimes there are policies and things that go above our direct leadership. And yeah, she can feel for me and she can listen, but can she affect the change that I'd love to see? Not necessarily. So that's why there's a million different places to work. There's small companies, there's big companies, there's offices, there's plants, there's hallways and closets. I mean, there's all these places. You have to find what's worked best for you. I've worked at small companies, I've worked at large companies. There are pros and cons to every single place that you go. I don't think we're ever going to have our dream job. Unless you're like a multimillionaire and you don't have to work. Maybe that's the dream. I don't know what the dream is for you, but you kind of have to find the place where you feel the best. And that might take you going to a couple of different workplaces before you find that place. National Heritage Academies is by far the first place I've worked. I'm not afraid to share. I'm 35 years old. I've been working since I got out of college at 22. So in that time, I've worked a lot of different places and had a lot of different experience. And it's taken me this long to figure out that NHA for me is the right culture and environment for me personally. I have, in the 3 years I've been there, I've seen lots of people leave, lots of people come, lots of people leave again, and people leave and stay at jobs for a variety of reasons. And just figure out what you're looking for and then go find that place that has most of the things on your checklist. It's never going to have everything. So hopefully that helps. But going back to our etiquettes here. So dress code, this is like a hot topic, personal favorite for me. I'm really, really passionate about this. I know it's cheesy, but it continues to be said and continues to be true. Dress to impress. Our interns on our first day, I always tell them, I would dress up if it were me. It's your first day. You don't know what the environment is like. I would dress up. I have a big event tomorrow. I was telling Ezra about it before the session. I will be dressed up. It's with our CEO and president. That to me, that's a dress up occasion. Especially if you're making that first impression. This is your one opportunity. You only get one time to do it, to show off, to be put together. I'm not saying you got to go get your ball gown like Cinderella or you got to put a tuxedo on. I'm saying you want to look put together where that person goes, they look at you and they say, wow, they look so nice. And I mean that in a professional standard, not in a inappropriate way. But guys, that's like a tucked in shirt. That's, your pants shouldn't look wrinkled. We shouldn't be wearing jeans. Ladies, that's going to be more nothing too low cut, no spaghetti straps, no short anything. People are going to judge you based on how you look before you even open your mouth. You might be the best person for this job on the planet, but if you show up looking disheveled, they're gonna not, a lot of people are gonna have a really hard time seeing past that. Now again, there are certain rules, like you're on a manufacturing floor. Okay, you're not wearing a dress and high heels. You're gonna be wearing jeans and likely some safety gear. So there are different roles that are gonna require different things. But since we're talking about office and professional environments, I'm gonna stick to that kind of dress code. Always err on the side of being more dressed up than less. You never want to be the person who everybody's wearing dress pants and you're wearing jeans. I know that a lot of people feel uncomfortable the other way around, but it's always better to be more dressed up. Once you get in the organization, once you know you're through your first days and your first week, you can read the policy, because any good organization will have a dress code policy. And you can kind of take cues from those around you and see how you dress. My organization does allow jeans. It's very detailed what kind of jeans they allow, but they allow jeans. And I told our interns that. I'm just reading Katrina. I always find it difficult to look professional looking clothes that fit well and feel authentic, your personal style. That's a really, really good point, because I think you don't want to not be yourself, right? So, first of all, I'm going to tell you guys, you're lucky. We live in a day and age where we're in a post-COVID world, and everything is made to be comfortable now. So find something that you're at least comfortable in. And for me, I am a little bit on the hippier side. I don't love pants. I'd much prefer to wear a dress. But you can personalize it with your shoes. I wearing my pink glasses, like in my head, I'm Elle Woods today. It's with your jewelry, it's with your hairstyle, it's with your makeup. I mean, as long as you don't have crazy things happening. But even at my office, I got a girl on our team right now who's got hot pink hair. That's totally okay. She still looks very put together. Her hair is hot pink, but we're not super client facing. So that's going to be, again, I sit in the office all day. Nobody comes in. It's going to depend on what kind of job you're at. Like a banking job, a lawyer, accounting firms, those are going to be more dressy still. My father wore a suit to work every single day, full suit and tie to the day he died. He would be mortified that people are wearing jeans, but we live in a different age now. And so you kind of have to adjust to the trends as they come. But I get that it can be hard to find something that works for you. But as long as you're covered and put together, most places these days are okay with that. Now, don't say, hey, Kristen Ryskamp told me I could wear this. You definitely have to check with your organization and find out what's appropriate. My organization is very casual. Jeans are okay. Sneakers are okay. Now there's caveats, like we don't want to see rips. We don't want to see fringe. I don't want to see the sneakers that look like you went and did a mud race in them. But I still think that that's pretty flexible. Like you can wear a nice plain colored t-shirt. Like we don't want to see graphics on it, but again, that's pretty casual. It's not my personal style. I enjoy dressing up. As you can see today, I am wearing just like a very plain black sweater because I wanted to look as professional as possible for you guys. Um, but I'm covered. I'm not like showing too much cleavage. But I'm wearing a dress. So if I stood up, I think that's a lot of mistakes we make on video calls. You stand up and you're wearing sweatpants and it's like, oh, oops. So keep that in mind. Try to be professional in everything you do, even if you're sitting at home and you're remote. It's happened. I had a friend who was on a job interview and her boyfriend didn't know when he came out of the bathroom in his towel. Let's just say that didn't go so well for her. So, always check your environment because sometimes it's not just you that you have to worry about. If you're dressing casual, I think it's even more important to look clean and organized because you're already casual. And I say this, and I hate saying this because I am a woman, but unfortunately, it's the ladies that we tend to have the biggest problem with because I think girls, they're like, oh, my outfit's so cute. And I'm going to meet my girlfriends after and we're going to go like out to the bar. If you don't have to change, that's a problem. You should have to change your clothes. You want to think if you're wearing a dress, how when you're sitting I don't want to see your upper thighs. Like you don't want to see your upper thighs. Nobody wants to see your upper thighs. Like again, gentlemen, like I don't want to see wrinkles. It shouldn't look like you just pulled it out of your hamper. It should look clean. And I'm not saying that you have to go to the dry cleaner and get everything pressed. But again, your personality, who you are, is going to be conveyed in part by how you look. And I know that sounds really shallow, but it's really true. We're visual people. They're even doing, dating experiments on trying not to see and to see if that changes things. But that seeing thing always comes back. In middle school, I was really big into history, and I did a project on Mary Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's wife. And she was known for her crazy dressing. She wore these very elaborate dresses. And depending on the political climate, they said that her dress could convey what the country was doing and what the country was like. And this was, how many years ago? Women didn't even have the right to vote yet. And they were saying that this woman's clothes, she's not even the president, she's just the president's wife, is conveying these major feelings that people were having. So your clothes truly, truly matter. If it was important then, I'm going to argue it's way more important today. So tomorrow, like I said earlier, we're hosting our annual Chief Executive Officer and President meet and greet with our interns. It's a rare opportunity. Our interns get to hear directly from the two people that lead our organization. And I always suggest to them that they should dress up. I'm not going to tell them what to do. At this point, you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. I'm not your mother. But I tell them, I will be dressed up. My manager will be dressed up. A couple years ago, we did the session and everybody looked really sharp. Guys were in suits, the girls were in blouses and dresses. I was just like really impressed. And I commented on it afterwards. I was like, guys, you look really nice. And somebody raised their hand and they said, thanks so much. But I noticed that we're dressed nicer than they are. And I said, you're right. But when you're the CEO and president of a national company, you can feel free to dress however you like. You should be dressing for the job you want, not the job you have. People shouldn't be in the workplace looking at you and saying, oh, that's an intern. They shouldn't be able to identify you just based on your clothes. Think about that. That's really important. So going to our next one. And I know I'm yakking your ears off, so keep asking questions. Punctual, being timely. This is, in my opinion, probably maybe the most important thing to remember as you go into this professional world. Being late, it shows a lack of respect. Even if you didn't mean it that way, that's how it comes across. It makes people think that you believe that your time is more important than theirs. And that's a really, really icky place to be. That's not a place I would ever recommend. Even if your tardiness has a good reason, it just is not a good look. In college, I took a screenwriting class, and the professor shared with us that in Hollywood, if you're on time, you're late. To be on time, you actually have to be early. So, for example, Ezra and I were emailing last week, and she was like, "Hey, can you jump on the call by 5:45? I'd like to make sure everything's working correctly." And I, of course, said, "Of course." I got on the call at 5:40 to make sure that I was ready and prepared so that when she came on, she could just go right into, we could go right into testing, and I'm not still trying to sit down, put on my jacket, get my notes ready. I wanted to be pre-prepared. Um, so if you're, for example, going to a meeting, you want to be 3 to 5 minutes early. That's okay. Going to a job interview, I would recommend 15 minutes early. You don't want to be too early where you're sitting there for a half hour, 45 minutes because people are in meetings. And if you do feel that anxiety, stay in your car. Like I have gotten to job interviews really, really early, and I stay in my car until about 10-15 minutes before. But 10-15 minutes before conveys this matters enough to them that they made sure they were on time. People are like, well, we live in Michigan, inclement weather. Okay. Yeah, and sometimes there's going to be you had left an hour early and then there's an accident that was out of your control. It happens. But you have to do your best to plan in advance for things that are unexpected. I know that sounds really silly. We can't control everything, but you kind of, in some way, with timeliness, want to try to, because it's such a reflection on who you are and what matters to you. So, plan to be successful, or if you're not planning, then you're planning to fail. And being on time immediately sets you up for success and starts you out on the right foot with everybody. So, important things to think about. If you have questions, let me know. And now my final one is don't look engaged, be engaged. So, most of you don't have your cameras on. I can't see you. And you may think that you look inconspicuous and that nobody's actually paying attention to you, but people always notice when you're not really engaged. In a meeting, don't be the person that is on your phone. Like if you're doing this, that's a problem. See, my phone is in here because I have a child and I worry that there's going to be an emergency, but I'm not looking at it. It's face down. I'm not paying attention to it because I'm engaged with you guys right now. Also, don't be the person that walks into a meeting empty-handed. Like whether, and every company has different policies, whether it's you have your computer or you have a notepad and a pen. I'm in a team that we have a check-in every Monday, and we just sit and we chat about what's going on for the week. Do we do anything fun over the weekend? We always do a fun icebreaker question. It's just like a quick 30-minute meeting. Well, I joined the team and I didn't know about this, so I came with my pen and paper my first meeting, and my boss was like, "I'm really appreciative that you're prepared, but we're not going to need that for this meeting." But you don't want to be the person that did need that stuff and you just didn't bring it. Always have something to write with, whether that's a computer. It's not a great look for it to be your phone. An iPad, sure. A computer, sure. Notepad, yep, that's great. But a phone, it's too close to maybe you're texting or scrolling TikTok. So, just things to think about there. Even if you walk around the office, like I know my office, a lot of people have headphones on, whether they're on headphones because they're talking on the phone or they're trying to stay really locked in, so they've got music on. That's totally fine while you're at your desk. But if you walk around and people can see you either have big headphones on or you have like maybe the AirPods, it just looks like you're really unapproachable. And even if, again, that's not your intention, perception is everything, and people are going to take every opportunity they can to perceive things about you. We do it to each other all the time, even without realizing that we're doing it. So you want to be perceived in the best way possible. You want to be remembered in the best way possible. When your manager, this is my last one on this, when your manager asks you to do something, I think a lot of us get really excited. We're like, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. They haven't even finished talking. Let them finish before you respond. Take a beat and really digest and hear what they say, because you might miss something in your over eagerness. And again, I think a lot of times we do these things with the best of intentions, but they can come across not so great. And these guys are lessons I've learned the hard way. I'm like, yeah, let's go. But you want to listen. You want to make sure you don't miss any important details. That's why it's sometimes great if you have a meeting. When Ezra and I met, she followed up with an email to confirm this is what we talked about, this is what we agreed on. That's always really helpful to do. Put it back in writing so that you make sure that you both left and you were on the same page of your understanding of what the expectations were. So that is my 3 etiquettes. We can keep going. So you want to make a lasting impact. I've said it before during this presentation, people are going to remember you. especially if you give them a negative impression. As a society, it's really sad, but unfortunately, we are more likely to tell somebody when we had a bad experience than when we had a good experience. You go to a restaurant, you have terrible service, and the food is terrible. You're telling everybody about it. You go to a restaurant and it's everything's pretty good. You're like, well, there's no, for lack of a better word, tea to share. There's no, so nothing is interesting or salacious or of note. So you want, when people, the few times that people do remember and do say wonderful things, you want them to say wonderful things about you, not things. When a person talks about you, you want them to say, this person was so great, not, oh, let me tell you how this person was or what this person did. And you can hear the inflection in my voice, how that tone changed. We've all done it. Don't ever get into the spot of thinking, this is just my job until I find what I really want. This is just a short-term internship. I'm never going to work here or talk to anybody again. It's absolutely the wrong attitude to have, you guys. We live in a digital age. I know not all of you guys are all from places around the country, but in West Michigan, Ezra can agree with me on this, I'm hoping. It's a really, really small community, and people are connected in ways that you would never guess, but they in fact are. You never know when your paths are going to cross again. You never know when you're going to need a recommendation. Yeah, awesome, Kay. Nice to have another Grand Rapids local on the call. You're never going to, I had an intern last year. She emailed me and she was going to get her HR master's degree at Michigan State. And she said, hey, Kristen, would you write me a recommendation letter? And I was absolutely willing to, because she was fabulous. But if I didn't have anything nice to say, I wasn't going to write her a recommendation letter. That's not fair to her or me. Like, I'm not going to, make her look bad to somebody, but I could only write that letter because I had wonderful things to say about her. You just never know when you're going to maybe need a job. You're going to be in a position where, you lost your job and you're looking for anything that you can get, and you've got a friend that and you want them to say wonderful things about you. You know, First impressions, we talked about those a little bit, you guys. They're really, really, really hard to change. It's not impossible, but it's really, really hard. 3 years later, the CEO who runs our national company, we employ over 7,000 employees, still remembers our first meeting. What if I had bashed NHA or said something inappropriate or cursed or complained or any number of things? He clearly has a great memory and remembers it. That I am just like, thank you for being professional. Like, that's why it can never be overstated. Be as professional as you can at all times, and be true to yourself. If you are a comedic, be comedic. People want to people. We need to laugh. We all need to laugh. If you can find a way to make jokes in an office that are appropriate, be that person. If you're the hype woman and you're the one who just makes sure everybody else feels amazing about themselves, be that person. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's appropriate in the workplace. You can still be yourself and be professional at the same time. They can exist together. They don't have to be converse principles. And be personable with people. And I know we talked about this a little bit. It's a hard balance sometimes with work and personal. What do I bring to the office? What do I not bring to the office? It doesn't mean that everybody has to know your life story, or that you have to know everything about everyone, but it really makes people feel like you care when you remember little things about them. Oh, my kid had a science fair last night, and the next day you say, hey, how was that science fair? That makes people feel valued. It's really a lost art. At the end of the day, most people just want to feel heard, whether they're the CEO or an intern. I'm just getting this question. What are your thoughts on employees having bios on company websites? Do you think it's okay to say no to this? Do you think it's becoming too much? That's a great question. I think bios are great. I think you should share what you're comfortable sharing. If you're not the type of person that wants to say, I have 3 kids and outside of work, I am an avid hiker, and you don't have to. I think a little tidbit about your personal life, even if it's very surface level, is wonderful. Some people are clearly way more comfortable sharing more things about their lives, and some people aren't. Just say, hey, my name is Kristen. I worked at National Heritage Academies 3 years. I'm super passionate about making sure employee experiences are wonderful. And if that's all you want to say, that's okay. Personally, I'm going to say I have a wonderful husband and a wonderful son. I'm a Grand Rapids native. I'm super passionate about fitness. But you should be the person you want to be at all times. And if that is like, I just want to talk about my professional skill set, I want to talk about my professional life in my bio, and I don't want to share too much about my personal life, that's okay. People will learn that about you, and you'll learn that about other people as you get to know them. We can go to the next slide. I know we're running short here. I'm trying to zip through. Do you think it's wise to post stuff about work, even if it's something positive and talked about in nature? It often seems forced. You got to be careful when you talk about work. I think there are appropriate venues to talk about work. I also think that's a great point with social media. Um, if you think employers aren't looking, they're looking. I promise you, they're looking while you're interviewing. So be careful what you're posting. Even you think it's private, nobody can see it. People can see it. I think that's why LinkedIn exists. That's the place to post about your job. That's the place to say, the internet doesn't forget. You are 100% right, DJ. It really doesn't. It has a memory forever. But LinkedIn is just the place, like Ezra posted about this session, I'll repost about it. I will share that I talked and how wonderful you guys have been, a fabulous audience. But I won't go on my Facebook and my Instagram and say that, because those are more about my personal life. So I think if you're going to talk about work, talk about it on LinkedIn. That's why LinkedIn was created. So using your internship to your advantage. You guys, it's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to make mistakes as an intern, so you're not making them as an employee, as a, like, later in your professional career. When you make a mistake, own it. People want to hear people take ownership for what they do. They're going to have a lot of respect for you if you can say, hey, that was me, that was my bad. How can you help me do better next time? How can I set something up that this will be not happen again? Oh, Addison, you're wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were here. So mistakes are okay. We all make them. It's going to happen. But take this opportunity and be a sponge as much as you can. Learn, 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 learn. And if you're offered an opportunity, internship at your job, take it. People don't offer things just because they feel like it. Our time is valuable and precious, particularly if higher level executives who are very busy, quite frankly, in meetings all day, if they're offering you an opportunity, say yes. My chief people officer, or sorry, in NHA we call it people officer. For most companies, that's going to be chief of human resources, so CHRO. She said to all of I have 38 interns. She said to all 38 of them, if you'd like to have a 30-minute meeting with me, talk to my executive assistant. We will get you on the schedule before you leave for the summer. 2 of them have taken her up on that. That's a bummer to me. It's an opportunity to meet with the person who leads our human resources. She's like, if you just want to talk about life with me, she's willing to give you her very valuable time. Take the opportunity. They have so much value to share with the world and to share with you. And then that leads me to picking an internship opportunity that's not just a program. Don't pick what you already know. So many internships are still the age-old cliche. Hey, interns go get the coffee. Hey, interns do all the grunt work. Hey, interns do all the things nobody wants to do. Don't pick something, try not to pick something like that. You might not know that before you get there. And try not to pick something that's easy or familiar. If you've worked, let's just say, in a specific kind of office setting before, and you have a choice between that and something different, go with something different. Be willing to step out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself a little bit. And also when you're looking at internships, look for what opportunities they're providing you besides being at the job. Again, this is a little plug for NHA. We do 13 different sessions throughout the summer that are designed. They have nothing to do with NHA. They're just about career and about you as a professional. Look for places that do that. As much as we want you to work really hard during the summer, we should be pouring back into you. So just really think about that as you look for your future opportunities. And even when you're in the professional world, you should work at a company that wants you to grow and get better. All right, Ezra, last slide. We're almost there, guys. Thank you so much for your patience. I am talking way more than I thought I was going to. So this is my final tip, you guys. I have a mentor at NHA. I also highly suggest getting a mentor. And she is an executive on our small group of executives, and I heard her speak many times, and she kept saying the same piece of advice over and over, and it was say yes. She started as a very low level, entry level contributor, and somebody said, hey, do you want to try this? And she said, okay. And then so you want to try this? And she said, okay. And now she's one of the highest ranking executives at our company. Now that happened over 20 years. I'm not saying it's going to happen in a year. But if you keep saying yes, people say, hey, I can go to that person, and they'll say that they'll do it, even if they're nervous, even if they don't know what they're doing. That means you're willing to learn, you're open, you want to grow and develop, you're willing to try new things. Change is really scary, you guys, but it's like the best thing that you've ever done. Um, okay. Yes. How do you find a mentor like you? Oh my gosh, I would love to mentor somebody. I have been helped by so many people, have been part of my career, and have been part of my journey. I would love to talk to any one of you, because everybody needs somebody, and I will make time. So please, please, my email's in the chat. If you contact Ezra later, if you can't remember it, please reach out. You can find my information on the website. You can find me on LinkedIn, link with me. I would love to talk to you guys. How do you manage guilty feelings of not being the best or as good as other people writing reports? That's a really good one. I'm actually kind of going through that right now personally. I have a girl on my team, and she and I do some similar things. And I just, in my head, am feeling like she's doing it so much better than me. Well, I went to her and I said, hey, how do you do that? Can you show me your ways? And go to that person. You don't need to share every inner scary feeling that you're having, but you can say, hey, can you help me? I really want to grow in this area. It's okay to not, you're not going to be the best at everything. I, um, I am a very outgoing person. I'm a big picture gal. I struggle with details. I'm always going to struggle with details. That's part of my inner workings of who I am. Um, but I know that and I own that, and that's okay. We can't be the best at everything. We just can't be. So own what you're great at, because I guarantee you're great at a bunch of things, and be willing to continue to never stop working on the things that you're not great at. And you're going to go really, really far in life. Any other questions? I know that we're over on time. I'm so sorry.
We are, no, 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 you're good. I'm gonna just because I know we could keep going all night
Yes.
long. So I do want to be respectful of your time, Kristen. For
Yes.
everyone else, if you do have more questions, please, I dropped Kristen's email in there. Feel free to reach out. Again, this is one of those opportunities where she is willing and happy to chat. So feel free to reach out, ask your questions to get those answers. If she has time, maybe, right, set up those informational interviews. That's what I like to call them, right? But where you're chatting with people, taking those 30 minutes, having, really asking about the field, asking about lots of different things. So I want to thank you, Kristen, for a fantastic session. This has been wonderful, such really good advice and reminders. I think for some of us, like I was listening to that, I'm like, yeah, girl, you got to get on that. So, some of the things that, we're working remotely, I've, let go of the dress their situation. So I agree with you. Some of that that was a good reminder for me too, but such good, fantastic advice. Again, the session was recorded. I'll send out the recording after. I also dropped a few links in the chat, one to the NHA Careers website, also to our CPD resources, and a very short survey from our team just to help us plan future sessions like this. We want to hear from you guys, want to hear what other topics or things you guys want to hear on. So thank you all so much. And Kristen, I don't know, I apologize for interrupting
No,
you.
no, no.
If you wanted to
No, you're great. You
answer
guys
more,
have
you
been a wonderful
can.
audience. Great questions. Thank you so much for your engagement. Um, the best advice I can give you is have confidence and don't be afraid to not know something. You're not going to know everything. There's a million things I don't know, a million things I don't know. It's okay. The minute you think you're not growing anymore is the minute you're done. We're always growing. We're always developing. It's a constant thing. My mother's turning 68 this year, and she says, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. That's okay. Like, that's an okay feeling to have, and it makes you human. And also, don't be afraid to go up and meet people and introduce yourself. Executives, they put their pants on just like we do. So go make those connections. I wouldn't have the mentor I have if I hadn't said to her after a session, I think you're really wonderful. I'd love to talk to you more. And that's how we started. And then we started talking about she admired my nails, and she started talking about how she can't do her own nails. And that's how it evolved. So whatever that looks like, just don't, like, I'm seriously, guys, reach out, please. I would love to talk to any one of you. I really would. Azra, thank you so much. This is like a
Of
true
course.
honor and what I'm really passionate about. So to get to share that with your students is just an absolute pleasure and honor for me.
Of course. Well, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it and appreciate all of you for joining us this evening, as it is evening here for us
Yes.
or afternoon for you guys. Again, you'll get a follow-up email from me, but thank you all so much for joining us tonight. And thank you again, Kristen.